Good morning, student. In last class, I taught you about the types of pollination, self-pollination and cross-pollination, their adaptation of the plants for the self and cross-pollination and their advantages and disadvantages. Now today I will teach you about the agents of the pollination. Student, we know that cross-pollination needs the transfer of pollen grains from one plant to other plant. And we all know that pollen grains are not capable for the movement, for the locomotion. And for this, they need agents. So, there are two types of agents, biotic and abiotic agent. And in the biotic agents, the first is the entomophily. Entomophily brought by the insects. Ornithophily brought by the birds. Cleptophily brought by the bats. And melacophily brought by the snails. These are the some biotic agents, means live agents, living agents, which brought the cross pollination. Now abiotic, anemophily brought by the wind and hydrophily by the water. These are the some agents of the cross pollination. Student, you must learn these terms with their agents because it is very important terms, agents of the cross. The plants of the entomophily pollination having some adaptations. The flower should be broad, brightly colored, and it should be scented to attract the insect. Now, second is the produce nectar. Flower should produce nectars, so that nectar guides should be present on the flowers. And stigma of the flower should be sticky, so that it traps the pollen grains very easily. These are the some adaptation for the entomophily flower. Now the anemophily. Anemophily means the pollination brought by the wind. The flower should not be attractive because there is no insect, no attraction of the insect. So it should be not broad. It should be small and it's not scented and not attractive. Now second is that it do not produce nectar. Third is the pollen grains are dry and very lightweight, and it should be produced in large number. Now next is the stigma should be feathery, so that it can easily trap the pollen grains. And the filaments of these flowers should be very long, so that they can easily reach, the pollen grains easily reach to the next plant. These are the some adaptation of the entomophily and anemophily flower. Now hydrophily, for the hydrophily, the plant should be dioecious, means male and female flowers are born on different plants. So that hydrophily pollination will take place in such type of plants like Vallisneria and Hydrilla. These are the some adaptation of the entomophily, anemophily and hydrophily flowers. Now this is all about the pollination. Now I will explain you the next topic of your chapter, fertilization. The next topic is fertilization, and we all know fertilization is a fusion of male and female gametes. The process of fusion of male and female gamete is called fertilization. Now we will study the structure of male and female gametes. The male gametes in the plant, in the flower, is pollen grains, while the female gamete is ovule. Now let's study the structure of these ovules. These reproductive units. Pollen grains. Pollen grain is the microscopic unicellular structure, and it is double layered structure. The outer layer is very thick and inner layer is very thin and very smooth. The outer layer is having some pores at some intervals. And these pores are called germ pore. And inside the pollen grain, two nucleus are formed. First is the generative nucleus and the tube nucleus. These two types of nucleus formed inside the pollen grains, and at the time of fertilization, the burst and the inner smooth layer in time coming out and form a tube-like structure like this. And this tube is called pollen tube, which is inserted into the style of the flower, and these generative nucleus coming acts as a male gamete. This is all about the structure of pollen grains. Now the structure of ovule. It is a female gamete, and this female gamete is attached to the placenta through a stalk called funicle. This stalk is called funicle or funiculus, and this stalk also provides nourishment to the ovule. And ovule is covered by the double layered structure called integument, and this integument having a small pore at one end, and this small pore is called micropyle. This micropyle because this pore provides the entry of the pollen tube into the ovule, and inside the ovule embryo sac is found, and this embryo sac having egg cell. These are here are three cells. The middle one, mid cell, is called egg cell. It is a female gamete, and the sidewise cells are called synergids. Polar nuclei is found in the center, and antipodal cells are found on the upper part of the embryo sac. And this embryo sac takes the nutrition through this nucellus. It is a nourishment layer. It provides nourishment to the embryo sac. This is all about the structure of ovule. Now, how fertilization takes place between pollen grains and ovule, I will explain you. Fertilization. We all know that fertilization is the fusion of male gametes with the female gametes. And after the fusion of male and female gametes, zygote is formed, and that zygote converts into a seed because of the multiple mitosis cell division. Now, how fertilization takes place in flower, I will explain you. This is the structure of fertilization process. You are familiar with this figure. This is the figure of gynoecium. This portion is stigma, style, and ovule is present in the ovary. This portion is oval. Portion is the ovary, and inside the ovule is present. Now, as the pollen is deposited on the surface of stigma, it absorbs the sugary nutrient and water from the surface of the stigma and swells up. And from one of the germ pore, entine of the pollen grains comes out and form a long tube, and that tube is called pollen tube. And it travels through the length of the style and enters into the embryo portion of the ovule through the micropyle. Micropyle is the opening through which a pollen tube enters into the embryo sac, and in the meantime, inside the pollen grain, male generative nucleus present in the pollen grains, it divides into two male gametes, and out of these two male gametes, one male gamete fuses with the egg and forms zygote, and one of the male gamete fuses with the secondary nucleus or polar nuclei, and it forms the endosperm. Endosperm is the nutritive part of the seed, and it after the fusion, after the formation of zygote, it nourishes the zygote or growing embryo, and in this way fertilization or the fusion of male and female gametes takes place in flower, since here two fusion takes place, one between one male gamete with the egg and other with the male gamete and secondary nucleus, so it is called double fertilization. That's why it is called double fertilization. And fusion is called triple fusion because here one fusion with male gametes and one egg cell. And here fusion between one male gamete and two polar nuclei. See here, it is double nucleus, so that it is called secondary nucleus. Since the fusion between three nucleus is seen, so that it is called triple fusion or double fertilization. In this way, we have completed the. In this way, fertilization takes place in the flower, and after fertilization, post fertilization form calyx, sepals, petals, or filaments, and these stigma and style fall off, and this ovary converts into the fruit, and this ovule converts into the seed, and hence an ovary wall converts into the fruit wall. In this way, complete fertilization process. After the complete fertilization, complete fruit is formed, and inside the fruit, and we all know that angiosperm. In angiospermic plant, seed is always present inside the fruit. So that in this way, fertilization takes place in angiospermic plant, and hence the seed is within the fruit, and this seed after the use of fruit, it converts into, after germination, it converts into the complete plant. In this way, I have completed this chapter, and in next class, I will send you the PDF of this chapter, and also I will explain you the next chapter. Till then, thank you.